Hello everyone. In this video we talk about the fear of failure. This is a subject that in personal development I hear probably most of all. It's one of the top three, I would say, issues that come up when we're dealing with personal development. It's something that has pervaded our society to the point where it is almost a cliche. Fear of failure is the thing that really holds people back from doing what they want to do, and it leads us to procrastination. I want to explain a little bit about the fear of failure and what it is in this video, and we're going to do a part 2 that actually goes over the exercise that I'm going to explain and shows you how to actually work this out in your head so that you can get over your fear of failure. There's two types of fear along these lines. There's the fear of failure and there's the fear of success. What's going to happen if I don't do this? What are people going to think? And what happens if I do and then I can't handle it and I break down, which in a way is another way to say that's another fear of failure. I think this is really interesting because it's something that, like most fears, is irrational. And we often build up this fear in our head, and we think of it as like this great behemoth. But we don't really do the deep thought work to actually analyze what the fear of failure is. So at its core, maybe you're afraid that the society will think a certain way of you. And now, like, everything's online, right? We have Twitter, Instagram, we have Facebook and all this stuff now, so that if you fail in a big way, maybe everybody knows. And that makes it all the more worse to actually want to try something. So we get so afraid of trying to do something, and we build up to be this big demon in our head, and then we don't do it. And so it's easier and it's safer to just kind of sit back and be normal. It's easier to kind of not push the boundaries either way. Don't do anything too abnormal. Don't do anything too crazy, and just kind of coast along. That's what everybody sort of does, right? And that's what everybody tells you to do. And don't do anything too crazy because you might put yourself out there, people might not like it, and then you're going to be in trouble because everybody's going to laugh at you, right? It's that kind of thing that we build up in our head. That's fear of failure. But there's two things that I want to bring up that contradict this idea. And the first one is that if you actually do the really deep work to figure out what are the real consequences, what really happens if I actually fail, and you'll find that the committing to something is really no worse than maybe signing up for a month of a gym membership and the cost associated with if you don't actually end up going. If you really do the deep work to figure out what the consequences are going to be, you're going to find out that they're not nearly as bad as you think, and that the commitment and that the actual act of doing something is not nearly as bad as you think. That was something that I related to in this 30-day challenge I'm doing for videos right now, where I said, okay, I'm going to do a video every day. And the fear of failure is really scary because I had to put myself out there and say, hey, like, I'm going to do this. And I told everybody I'm going to do it. And if I don't do a video one day, it's kind of scary what would happen, because I think a lot of people would call me out, and rightfully so. And I knew that I needed that because I used it as kind of ammo, because that allowed me to do it. But what you'll find is that even in that case, and this is sort of the second issue that I wanted to bring up, there's so few people that are actually going to care. The amount of people that really focus on your life, even if you're a public figure or if you're a person that is doing something of some influence, the amount of people that are going to care about that in reality is so small, because everybody's really focused on their own lives. They're stuck in their own thought trains, their own fears, their own issues, that if they make fun of you, it's going to be some kind of projection of something that they're either upset about or jealous, and it's not going to be something that's on you. I don't think anybody ever really makes fun of a person, or anybody ever really deliberately goes out and trashes a person because they genuinely understand that person's position. If you empathize with a person's position, you empathize with a person's failure, you would never make fun of them. So the only people that make fun of people are people that are themselves hurt. And they're either jealous, or they're trying to lash out, or they're wishing that they were in your position and they had the courage to do what you're doing. And so they lash out at you, but they don't really know you. They don't know who you are. They only know their warped projection of you. And keeping that in mind, any idea of failing in their eyes shouldn't be relevant. Like, we do a bunch of stuff for people we don't even know or people we don't even like, and we work for things we don't need, and we do things for people we don't care about. And all this is because we have some idea that if we don't do it, everyone's going to judge us. But everyone, like ourselves, is so wrapped up in their own thoughts that it doesn't matter. I mean, how many times have you really jumped out there and like truly judged someone or left like a mean comment? Probably the wide majority of people watching this video would never do such a thing. And the few people that are definitely not the type of people you want to be worrying about. Those are not the type of people that you should concern yourself with. You're going to actually sink yourself down to the level where you actually take a person who is trashing you seriously. That is how you procrastinate, how you freeze. When these people that do that are hurt themselves, they're not lashing out at you. They're not mad at you. They don't even know who you are. They don't really know you. They're not in your head. They're just people that are in pain themselves. And so you can safely disregard that opinion and do what you're going to do anyway, knowing that they don't know you. And then once you understand that, you know you're going to have the haters. Going out and doing something a little bit scary or a little bit different, 10% of people are going to disagree with it no matter what. I mean, 10% if you're lucky. And then there's going to be another 10% that love what you're doing, and another kind of 80% that probably don't care. And in that spectrum, you're going to meet a wide variety of people. But if you actually just can deal with the judgment, you know, that you perceive, like most of it's not even going to ever happen. But the few people that do judge you, that's not going to matter. But if the people that you think are going to judge you probably won't care, the wide majority. So you can knock that off right there. And then secondly, and this is what we'll explore in part 2, do the actual deep work, do the real work, and write down on paper, like, what does this look like? Let's figure out all the consequences. What is the absolute worst case? I do a video challenge for 30 days. I decide to sign up for a month of a gym membership. I decide to create content, or I apply for 5 jobs. Whatever is holding you back right now, get that on a piece of paper. Write down the fear on the top of the piece of paper and say, what are the largest consequences? What are the biggest consequences? What are all the possible outcomes of this going wrong? It just turns into a worst case scenario. And then how can I recover from those worst case scenarios that I think of? And what you'll find is that it's not nearly as bad as you thought. You'll find that it's not even a 4th, an 8th, a 10th as bad as you thought. The total consequences of a true failure are minuscule, especially in our society, because we have so many systems that are trying to minimize it. You can bounce back from almost anything, especially if you're of the age demographic that's watching these videos. If you are below 50, you are going to be able to bounce back. You know, even if you're above 50, I mean, you have so many years before you're too tired or just not interested in doing things. You have so much time. So the idea that you're somehow going to suffer, like, I guess what we would call catastrophic loss, you know, a loss that is so bad that you can never come back from it. It's just not going to happen. Even if you build a business, even if you try to do something new, you hire someone, or you take a chance and you put yourself out there, in the fullness of time, in the macro of time, it's not going to matter. You know, even if they say your online stuff is born forever, but you know, we look at celebrities in America, people that are world famous, and it's like 24. They die, and it's like 24 hours that we think about them and we post them on Twitter and stuff like that, and then they're gone, and nobody remembers it. And that's the most famous people in the world. So if you think that, like, you know, 10 years from now somebody's going to come back to haunt you, it won't. I mean, like you being conscious of that alone, even the most egregious offenses are things that people will forget about. And guess what? Like, being human, you make mistakes. People are going to forgive you for them. So even if people do remember it, they'll forgive you for it later. So I think those are the 2 things that I want to focus on first in this video. Is that number 1, it's not as bad as you think, and if you actually do the deep work, you'll find that out. And we're going to explore that in part 2. And number 2, people just don't care as much as you think they do. I mean, it's hard to get people to care about anything because we're getting bombarded from every side. You know, everybody, all the marketers and all the businesses and all these products and all these people, they're saying, care about this. And then all your friends and all your family and all of them, they're saying, care about this. And then your work and pretty much everything in your life is trying to get your attention on something. So we're so pulled in so many different directions that nobody's going to notice the tiny, minute failure. I mean, that's just in your head. It's just something that you have to realize that you're not being judged for. And the only person that's holding you back is yourself. Maybe it's time to get over that and actually do the thing that scares you. I think it's high past time. So that's part 1. Part 2, again, we're going to be doing a exercise where we actually look at this break it down, show you how easy it is. You get over those kind of fears of failure in a second. But in the meantime, I really hope this added value to you, and thank you so much for watching this video. I want to encourage you guys to post comments on the YouTube section with questions you might have. I really want to turn these videos into more of a Q&A type of energy. I think that I do a lot better in that kind of energy. And if you have, even if, I think we get an average of 100 views at this point. So if even one of you posts a question or some kind of thing that you want to know more about, and maybe it can be business related or personal development, whatever you want to know, then I can answer that and we can do a Q&A kind of back and forth. It'd be really cool. So thanks again. I really appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for all of your support through this whole challenge. I will see you again tomorrow. In the meantime, think about what we talked about with the fear of failure, and I hope you enjoy part 2.